Is the Arsenal project, I'm thinking mainly since Mikel Arteta joined, is it more of a project or is it a myth?
I don't know. It is a project. You can see it's got backing. I think there's been around 8 windows since he's been in charge. Transfer windows have spent near enough £600 million, which is up there with the tops in the league. So I think obviously the club are fully backing him and they see what he's trying to do, so they're investing in it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of success, they've won the FA Cup, which is good for them. It's a good cup to win, but they've just finished in the top 4 for the first time since I think the 15-16 season. So for them, it's success, but from an outside perspective, it's just steady.
Yeah. I think it's a project, but this idea that it's coming from homegrown is absolute tosh.
Yeah, I mean, so I got a couple notes together on this one. Another good chance for Arsenal, sticking around the Manchester United box, but it's a goal kick. So since Arteta joined, which was only a couple seasons back, they've brought in £577 million worth of players, and they've sold 135 million. So that means over the last 4 seasons, they've spent a total of 442 million.
Yeah.
Which
it's a lot.
It's a hell of a lot. And when I was going through, so I went through some of the individual seasons, right? And since Arteta joined, the only players that are still in the squad, like senior players from when he joined, is Saka, Saliba, Martinelli, and Nketiah. I'd say they're the ones that actually play regularly. And then you've got Smith Rowe, Tierney, and Reece Nelson. So really, since
Tierney's gone, hasn't he?
Is he not still there?
I thought he'd gone.
I thought he was still there,
He
player
might
technically.
have gone on loan. Yeah.
Potentially. But they're the only ones that are still anywhere near the squad. And it made me think, well, who have they actually got rid of in that time? So in the first season that Arteta was in charge, they spent 68 mil on Partey and Gabriel, and then they let go of, and I think this is one of the interesting parts, they got Emi Martinez, they got 20 million for him, right. But then Ozil for free, Mustafi for free, and Socrates for free. So they just let go of a lot of the players that were regular starters before that. The following season, they brought in Tavares for 7.5, Lokonga for 17, White for 50, Odegaard for 30, Ramsdale for 25, and Tomiyasu for 15 million. So that season, they spent 145 mil, and then the outgoings only brought in 25 million, and they let go of David Luiz for free, Aubameyang for free, Willian for free, Kolasinac for free, and then sold Willock for 25 mil. So it's like another season where all the old stars from the squad just let them go for free, effectively.
Yeah. They've got a lot of big wages off the building there.
Yeah,
those players.
Which I guess that's the thing.
It's smart for them, but a few of those as well, like Aubameyang, for example, it wasn't like the contract ran out; they had to like pay him off to go.
So you need to get rid of him, didn't they?
It's in terms of, is it a project? They're still paying a lot of these players a lot of money to leave, whilst bringing in players for a lot of money at the same time. And then obviously in the most recent seasons, they've brought in Jesus for 45 million, Vieira for 30 million, Zinchenko for 30, Trossard for 22, Jorginho for 12, Havertz for 65, Timber for 38, and Rice for 105.
God, yeah.
So that homegrown idea,
yeah,
because we were having a conversation about this the other week, and I was saying, no, Arsenal have built a lot of what they do. And then when I actually looked into it, I thought, well, admittedly, it's easy to say that because Saka's one of the best players, and Martinelli's one of the best players. But apart from that,
come from the academy, you know.
Well, no, I know, but they got him for like 6 million, so it's like good scouting.
They only signed him the summer before Arteta. So 2019 is when Arteta came in. Mm-hmm. That summer is when they signed Martinelli, and he started straight away. So it was good scouting, and they got him for a good price. But to say that he's like a homegrown player, again, it's not true. Yeah. Because they bought him and then they started him straight away. It's similar with Saliba. Like, I thought Saliba had come through the academy, but they bought him and sent him out on loan for a few seasons, and then...
And even for him, they paid like 30 million, which a couple of seasons ago is a bit more than it is now. Yeah. What do you think, Simon? Do you think
it's strange because last year when they were fighting City, I was definitely in the Arsenal camp because on the surface, it does seem more organic, more steady progression, but those numbers, those transfer fees, they're massive. But is that just saying it's just the state of the game we're in at the moment? You have to pay that money, don't you? You have to pay it.
I think they're the second team in the Premier League with a squad value of over £1 billion. Obviously, you've got City. I think Arsenal are in there, and I would guess, I don't know, Chelsea are probably in there now with the money that they've spent. They're probably in that category as well. But yeah, I think they do throw the cash about massively, especially in the last few windows. I mean, this window they've just been crazy.
Again,
I think they had to go big this window because they got Champions League, and they were close last year, but obviously they fell away, so they had to go big this just to push on.
Yeah, to stay in the area that they're in at the minute. And I think another aspect to this as well is, obviously we've seen how much Chelsea have spent this summer, and Josh, you were saying the other week how people don't like the Glazers, and it's because of the revenue that's brought in by Manchester United and how much they should actually be spending. So is it a case of Arsenal should actually be spending this much money because they bring in, I think they're in the top 4 for how much revenue they bring in every season. Obviously the Emirates has been practically paid off now. They've been in the stadium for years and years, so they can start seeing more money for that. So is it just natural progression?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have an issue with the money that they've spent. What I have an issue with is Arsenal fans trying to kind of pretend as if that money's not being thrown around. Like, as a United fan, like, we throw money about every summer without fail, and I'll never hide away from the fact that, yeah, we do that and we do spend a lot of money. But, you know, for a long time, Arsenal have kind of tried to sweep it under the rug and be like, point the fingers at us and at Chelsea and at City and go, oh, look at them, they spend all the money and we don't. But then actually now everyone's kind of finding out, hang on a minute, actually you lot do throw the cash about just as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree. In the last few seasons, I don't think that it is particularly a project anymore. If you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said, oh yeah, it definitely is. Look at all these players they've brought in. No.
I think it is a project. So, I don't know, it's different. It is a project because obviously when Arteta came in, similar to when Ten Hag came into United, Arsenal were a shambles. Yeah. So there is a project there that they've had to rebuild, but it's obviously not like a homegrown driven. But I don't think we're going to see that anymore.
No,
personally,
I
think the years of the class of '92 at United, for example, it's just long gone. Is that you'll have your you look at United, you've got your Rashford, and you know that's really it. And then you look at Arsenal, and you've got Saka.
Yeah,
I think you'll have one or two that are big stars. You know, you look at Liverpool with Trent, but after that, I think you'll have your big star come through the academy. But then after that, it'll just be players brought in and money spent again.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that that's a little bit sad?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, you think, back in the day when, what was it, Celtic won the European Cup with all their players born 10 miles from the stadium, something ridiculous like that.
Is that like all the team?
Yeah.
Wow,
the starting 11 was all born within 10 miles of Celtic Park, whatever it is, something like that. But yeah, it's just sad. It is. Like I say, the class of 92, even Liverpool, we had good youth, like a good spine of youth and things like that. It just doesn't happen anymore, does it? It's sad.
Yeah, it's too much of a business now in football to just be able to look globally and just dip your hand into your pocket and bring all these different players in. I mean, and you've got an academy, obviously, but if people aren't up to scratch, you can just look elsewhere and bring somebody in for a fee and get them performing straight away. I
think the other issue as well is that there seems to be a shift now where you also don't see these managers stay for a long time. So actually, the likes of, say, Fergie and Wenger, they kind of felt a lot more secure in their job, where they thought, I can give these young players more of a chance because I'm not going to lose my job if I have a little bit of a wobbly season this season. Whereas, say for example, Arsenal come fourth this season, or they drop out of the Champions League and come fifth. Every Arsenal fan's going to be calling for Arteta to be sacked, and there's going to be genuine conversation about it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, if that had happened in days gone by, where Wenger was coming, he was dropping fifth, sixth. It took a long time for the Wenger out to actually kind of happen. So I think that's also plays a part, because there is a lot more pressure on managers nowadays to get the job done the second they walk through the door. So unless they've got an academy player that's almost polished or pretty much there, you're almost not going to see them. It's like United. We recently sold a right back, Mark Gerardo. We sold him back to a La Liga team. I can't remember where we sold him. And a lot of United fans are a bit disappointed about it. But we've got Dalot, we've got Wan-Bissaka, and if he's not ready to push those guys now, why not kind of cash in, get a little bit of money and just see if we can make, why keep him? And that's the problem now, is that we don't have the time to develop these players like we used to.
Yeah, I think a prime example of that for me is just how Chelsea have done business in the last decade. Like, you've seen so many Chelsea players where they've left the academy. Like, they had De Bruyne at one point, didn't they? When he was younger, they had Lukaku, Salah. they've had so many good players that they've let leave, and then some of them, like Lukaku, for example, they even signed him back at one point. How much did they pay? Like 80 million or something ridiculous. And he must be classed as one of the biggest striker flops in Premier League history now.
He's had so many different clubs as well. It says it all really, doesn't it?
Well, he did okay at United at first, didn't he? And then just dropped off massively. But at Chelsea, he never picked up.
He did all right at Everton. He had a couple of seasons at Everton.
Everton and West Brom did well.
But when he first signed back for Chelsea, I think I remember it was Chelsea against Arsenal at the Emirates, and I think he scored 2 when he just come back. And all Chelsea fans, what they were missing was a striker. And then he signs, and it looks like, here we go. It looks like he's finally going to hit the ground running and become the striker that we all kind of knew that he could be.
Yeah.
And then it just ends up falling off like it has ultimately at every other club that he's been at.